The return of a heel John Cena in 2025 was supposed to be seismic, a moment that WWE could build an entire era around. When Cena delivered the shocking attack on Cody Rhodes at Elimination Chamber, fans erupted with a kind of buzz that the company hadn't captured in years. Here was John Cena, no longer the sanitized, bright-color Superman, but instead a venomous, bitter veteran snapping back at the modern era. And yet, by the time the WrestleMania 41 main event was over, the feud between Cena and Cody had crumbled under its own weight. The match was impactful, yes. Cena's victory was historic, undeniably. But the feud itself failed, not because the wrestlers couldn't deliver, but because WWE misread the essence of both men at the exact wrong time. The foundation cracked almost immediately after Cena's heel turn. The attack on Cody was violent and unexpected, but the reasoning presented on TV lacked the nuance required for an all-time great rivalry. Cena's promos hammered home one central theme: that Cody was unworthy, that Dusty Rhodes' legacy was empty, and that John Cena was the real heir to the industry's throne. But instead of layering Cena's motivations with complex insecurities, the story defaulted into shallow insults that echoed tired tropes from the mid-2000s. Cena mocked Cody for leaving WWE in 2016, for running from the grind, for trying to claim a kingdom he didn't build. The problem wasn't that these points were untrue, it was that the audience didn't buy Cena as the voice to deliver them. Fans knew Cody left WWE and returned stronger. They respected his journey through the independent scene and AEW. Cena's derision felt forced, disconnected from reality, and lacking the authenticity needed to fracture the audience's loyalties. Worse yet, WWE positioned Cena as a gatekeeper rather than an evolutionary antagonist. Great heel turns succeed when the villain believes on some level that he is the hero of the story. Cena's character skipped that nuance. His promos dripped with contempt but not conviction. Instead, it felt rushed and transactional. The audience never got a clear, compelling reason why Cena, a man who had spent nearly 2 decades positioning himself as WWE's conscience, would suddenly side with the most manipulative figure in company history. And when Cena lobbied his way into the WrestleMania main event, the angle stretched even thinner. Fans had been invested in Cody's journey to finish his story, culminating in dethroning Roman Reigns. Adding Cena complicated that narrative in a way that weakened all parties. Cody's mission felt hijacked, and Cena's presence felt like a self-serving detour rather than a natural evolution of the feud. By the time WrestleMania 41 arrived, anticipation was mixed with confusion. Yes, the match was star-studded. Yes, the stakes were high, but emotionally, the storyline threads had frayed too much to deliver the catharsis fans wanted. In the ring, Cena delivered what could be considered his sharpest heel performance since his early Doctor of Thugonomics days. His facial expressions, his body language, even his methodical pace oozed arrogance. But the booking decisions further alienated the audience. Cena not only pinned Cody clean, he did so decisively, leaving no ambiguity. He didn't cheat, he simply dominated. While historically significant in giving Cena his 17th world title, the optics left Cody Rhodes looking small in the moment where he was supposed to rise highest. Cena spitting on the polka dot towel was an attempt at heat generation, but instead of deepening animosity, it pushed the segment into melodrama. What undercut everything was the crowd's shifting energy. WWE had gambled that Cena's heel antics would turn the audience against him, naturally aligning sympathy behind Cody. But what unfolded was more apathetic than antagonistic. Fans weren't viscerally angry at Cena, they were disconnected. The attack on Dusty's legacy didn't sting because Cena's credibility in that realm was thin, because the relationship felt transactional rather than personal, and his clean victory didn't spark outrage, because for all his bluster, Cena's character hadn't earned the audience's investment as a final boss worth slaying. Worse, Cody's absence from TV post-Mania to sell injuries stalled any momentum he had to reclaim the narrative. Without Cody immediately reasserting his mission, Cena's dominance felt hollow rather than volatile. Cena's return as a heel wasn't organically demanded by fans. Unlike Roman's tribal chief transformation, which had been bubbling under the surface for years, Cena's turn felt like a writer's room pitch rather than an inevitability. The attack on Cody lacked historical precedent. Cena had always respected Dusty Rhodes publicly. His bitterness felt conjured rather than earned. Fans could feel that. Moreover, Cena's heel persona borrowed too heavily from his past antagonists. His jabs about Cody running from the grind echoed the Miz's promos from 2000 2017. His superiority complex over Dusty felt reminiscent of Randy Orton's Legend Killer era. His alliance with Heyman mimicked Brock Lesnar's dynamic too closely. Cena wasn't innovating as a heel. He was recycling archetypes from foes he had once vanquished. That left the entire presentation feeling stale rather than revolutionary. Even Cena's in-ring work, while technically solid, didn't align with the psychology of the feud. A dominant, clean victory undercuts the notion of a manipulative, shortcut-seeking heel. If Cena could simply outclass Cody physically and mentally, where was the peril? Where was the chase? Instead of crafting a long, agonizing story where Cody had to claw back against impossible odds, WWE short-circuited the drama by giving Cena an emphatic win up front. That left the post-Mania feud with no gas in the tank. The failure also stemmed from WWE's misunderstanding of Cody Rhodes' connection to the audience. Cody didn't need to overcome a Cena-shaped mountain to validate his journey. His story was already about overcoming his own doubts, his family's shadow, and Roman's dynasty. Cena's insertion reframed Cody's mission from an epic of closure into a meandering revenge tale that felt like a lesser priority. And in doing so, WWE underestimated how fragile fan investment can be when narratives feel overcomplicated. Another nail in the coffin was WWE's corporate overreach during the build. Cena's heel turn coincided with TKO's aggressive premium pricing strategy and hyper-commercialized presentation of WrestleMania 41. The disconnect between storyline intensity and corporate polish dulled the edges of the feud. Cena's character was railing against an audience that wasn't fully behind Cody to begin with. Not because they disliked Cody, but because they distrusted WWE's ability to tell the story cleanly. That skepticism bled into every promo, every segment, every contract signing. Fans waited for a twist that would make it all click, but none came. Instead, they got a feud driven by executive mandates rather than organic heat. Finally, Cena's legacy itself undermined the angle. For all the heel tactics and bitter promos, there was an undeniable reverence attached to Cena that couldn't be erased. Fans didn't want to boo him outright. They respected his tenure too much to buy into a full-scope villain role. Unlike Roman Reigns, whose character overhaul felt like a revelation, Cena's turn felt like an old man screaming at clouds. The meta-awareness of Cena's stature muted the feud's effectiveness. Audiences weren't invested in seeing Cody vanquish Cena. They were confused why Cena had inserted himself in the first place. As the weeks unfolded after WrestleMania 41, the long-term damage of the failed Cena versus Cody Rhodes program became even clearer. The audience, already lukewarm by the time of Cena's title coronation, grew restless and disengaged. WWE, in an attempt to salvage the narrative, leaned further into Cena's tyrannical reign. He opened every Raw with extended monologues flanked by Paul Heyman, parading the Unified World Championship belts and declaring a new ruthless aggression era. But instead of reigniting interest, these segments exacerbated fatigue. Fans weren't clamoring for Cena's nostalgia-tinged aggression repackaged under modern branding. They wanted forward momentum, not a retreat into old motifs dressed in darker attire. In the end, heel Cena versus Cody Rhodes failed, not because the pieces weren't valuable, but because they didn't fit together at the right time, with the right motivations or the right audience climate. Cena's heel character lacked fresh purpose. Cody's mission got derailed by unnecessary convolution, and WWE's overproduction choked out the raw energy that could have elevated the rivalry into something iconic. The aftermath, with Cena lording over a diminished field and Cody sidelined, cemented the program as a cautionary tale. Even with generational talents, even with historic stakes, even with corporate muscle behind it, a feud will crumble when it forgets to respect the audience's intelligence and emotional investment.